Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend so far. Today we're going to be delivering a very short and sweet cryptocurrency market update. The market is somewhat boring at the moment, very lackluster. We aren't seeing a continuation of yesterday's sell-off, which is certainly somewhat positive, but we're going to be covering it all in this video. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin, the Nasdaq, Ethereum, ADA. We're going to be going over a tweet from Willy Woo, talking about one of the big threats to markets at the moment, which of course is the Federal Reserve and what they're doing in terms of monetary policy, how they're looking to tighten monetary policy, up the likes of interest rates, also reduce their balance sheet. This all has a negative effect on the cryptocurrency market and markets across the board. And the reason that I'm going to bring up the Nasdaq is to really kind of show the correlation between these two, certainly in their both recent sell-offs and how they're kind of following one another. And in actual fact, this I don't think is very positive. I do not want Bitcoin to be acting and crypto to be acting in the same way that the Nasdaq and some of your other kind of traditional equities are. Because when we have the Federal Reserve looking to raise interest rates, you know, markets have somewhat priced this in, but they haven't priced in any kind of alterations of this. And certainly if it becomes off more hawkish with interest rates, more strong in rising interest rates, raising interest rates, I don't think that's going to be a great thing for markets. And we've got a lot of traditional financial news coming out this week. We should get the CPI, I think, this week. And I think that's actually going to be higher than last month. And that may, you know, we may have the Fed have to come on a lot more strongly. And they have said that they are going to tackle this through raising interest rate hikes. We do, of course, believe that they're not going to get very far in terms of, you know, I don't think you're going to get high interest rates. I think before we get there, something breaks and they have to kind of rebuttal it. But they do have to move up now, only to renege on it later on and kind of bring it back down, in my opinion. So long term, we're very, very bullish on the crypto space. Short term, given how Bitcoin and crypto is acting, I think we may be in for a little bit of turbulence, but there is, of course, you know, a lot going on, you know, with the dollar. For example, the dollar just ran a very key level of 100. You may see a bit of a rest now. That may see the crypto space and your equities kind of you know, get a bit of relief. So let's get into it. The overall markets, again, very lackluster. Bitcoin, for me, I need to see a strong week. You know, we had this bullish MACD cross. Historically, whenever you've had one of these, it's been a sign that you are going to get continuation to the upside. However, when you do initially form one, you get that kind of consolidation period. Over here was a perfect example where I'm hovering my cursor. Of course, you had one back here. So we're not really doing anything too out of the ordinary. We're kind of following this, essentially, in terms of what took place. So that, you know, it is something potentially to be positive about. And we are positive about the crypto space. It's just that right now, and I don't think there's any issue with being cautious, certainly given what happened. If we drop down a timetable, we can see that we are now back into this ascending triangle that we had broke out of. We called the breakout, and really, you know, we want to be coming back out of this. Perfect little run would be something like this, maybe a rejection before you get that continuation. But right now, you know, you're not putting in a lower low or a lower high necessarily, but we do need to see, in my opinion, quite a strong week given everything that's coming for the traditional financial markets. And one rare level that you kind of really don't want to go below is this trend line. You want to watch this trend line. A break below that may signal further downside continuation. And there's a number of levels that we're looking at, but we're not there yet. You know, ultimately, Bitcoin could turn things around. We're not seeing a continuation of yesterday's sell-off. And in terms of this potential trend that we're now setting up, you know, things don't look too badly, but we still do have this kind of overarching sentiment at the moment, you know, weighing down on the cryptocurrency market's shoulders. And it really is looking very much like the Nasdaq, but we'll talk about the Nasdaq in just a second. Ethereum actually looks really good, to be honest. It does look like it's actually broken out of what was a multi-month downtrend. And I'm not too, you know, worried about Ethereum at all. I think Ethereum's here to stay within the crypto space. It is the #1 smart contract crypto at the moment. But there are other competitors sort of rising through the ranks. Talking about competitors, Cardano, a cryptocurrency that we talk about daily. We haven't made a video for the past 2 days specifically on ADA. Reason being is the market is very lackluster. Yes, there is a lot going on within the Cardano ecosystem, some amazing things taking place. But really, we've took this time period to kind of take a little bit of a break over the weekend, and then we'll get back to it on Monday. But this is the key level that we've been watching, your $1 mark. I would not like to see a sell-off below that. In actual fact, if you can hold this and sort of come back up, you guys know the sort of structure that we're potentially maybe forming, looking for further upside. And there's a number of fundamental reasons for Cardano to see that upside. But again, that is really largely tethered on markets generally and what's going on. And right now, you can see, get rid of some of this. The Bitcoin, in terms of generally, is very much acting similarly to the likes of your NASDAQ, the likes of some of your traditional equities, which is something that I don't want to see. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's try and line these up. Bear with me, guys. So if I line these up roughly, okay, that's pretty much bang on. What I mean by there's a correlation, March 2020, an event that we're still going to continue to highlight because it's playing a role in today. What took place back then was essentially the Fed flooded the system with money, which is why the NASDAQ saw a huge uptick, along with a lot of other equities out there. And of course, Bitcoin was as well a beneficiary. Of course, it had its own internal things going on, like the 4-year cycle theory, and it probably would have done quite well, but certainly appreciated from governments around the world flooding the system with money. So you've seen this. Yes, we had internal issues with the crypto space in May, and these sell-offs are extremely different. This is your kind of capitulation. This, to me, looks more like exiting markets, and you can see this all coincides around interest rate hikes and a number of other things, all very, very important to keep your eye on. So you can see the correlation. So yes, May we had internal things going on with the crypto space, but what essentially what we're saying here is the overall trend is very similar. NASDAQ selling off, look what happens to crypto. In fact, it front runs it almost. They're pretty much, if you look at the date here when crypto topped, it was the, let's draw a line for it, guys, just to really highlight this point and drive it home. And this is what we want to be doing on this channel, is sort of educating people with exactly what's taking place. You can see just how correlated these are, and even the run-ups. So if the Fed talking about upping interest rates, and the reason they're doing this is to sort of flatten markets, essentially, take the wind out of the sails, is crypto going to act similarly? And that's really what we're watching for. And yes, it doesn't sound great, but what you guys have got to remember is, what is Bitcoin? What is the cryptocurrency space? It is fundamentally different from the NASDAQ and your equity market, but it's acting like it at the moment, given the sort of correlation with markets generally around everything that's taking place on a macro kind of sense, on a macro scale. So you got to pay attention to that. Crypto is going to do very well. The reason I'm all in crypto is because I ultimately think crypto is going to be the best asset class in terms of performance over the next 5 years. I think it's going to beat all of your equities. But what I am watching at the moment on the short term, and I mean in the next 3 months, next 2 months, that sort of time frame, is just the correlation that we see here. So I'd like to see a strong week for Bitcoin. This is an article here from CNBC. Here's how the Fed raising interest rates can help get inflation lower and why it could fail. By the way, it is going to fail. Inflation is here to stay, ladies and gentlemen, and the Fed, in my opinion, are not going to be able to up interest rates to any sort of a significant measure before they break something. So if they do decide that they want to really get aggressive, that is the precursor for a recession. Couple that with everything that we've been speaking to you guys about in terms of the bond yield curve and everything else, you can see the picture that we're painting here and just why it is so relevant. And we do have an interview coming out later with David Bell, Mr. David Bell, where we talk about a variety of things that I think you guys will find extremely interesting that all have an effect on our market as they affect the economy generally. Federal Reserve policymakers are going to try to slow down the economy and subdue inflation. Good luck with that. Higher rates make money costlier and borrowing less appealing. That in turn slows down demand to catch up with supply, which has lagged badly throughout the event that we've just gone through. Fed officially also have talked tough on inflation in efforts to dampen future expectations. Potential effects include lower wages, a halt or even drop in home prices, and a decline in the stock market valuation. So this is what we're watching for. And if Bitcoin's acting like the crypto space, well, I don't need to tell you what that signals. So it's something that I'm watching. Again, I think this year we could actually come out the end of this and actually see. This is we've drawn over everything at this point. This is the sort of structure. We'll leave this on. This is the sort of structure that we're potentially looking at. Some sort of a broadening. It's just a mess that. Just some sort of a broadening continuation pattern, if that makes sense. So something like this that you squeeze out to the top of in a similar fashion to potentially maybe something you did over here. This is what we're kind of expecting. You get this double top here, you come down, but you get that continuation. That's what I'm expecting overall. But that doesn't mean that within that, you don't get something like this, and then you come back up. Ultimately, bullish on crypto. Right now, I just think that there's a lot going on that we need to sort of take into account as it all has an effect on our markets. It's a tweet from Willy Woo. BTC price rejects off a cost basis of short-term holders. Less than 5 months. In plain English, it means weak hands who were underwater sold off to get their money back. NGMI. This is not how investing in new technology works. Take a longer arc. Absolutely. And there is a lot of fear in this market, a lot of uncertainty given how the past year played out. 2021 certainly didn't play out in the way I thought it was going to, and it's revealed a lot of things moving forwards. The last thing that I have is recession is almost done. A done deal in Germany. How will the ECB balance negative growth and above target inflation? Not an easy trade-off. This is a kind of overarching theme in regards to what's coming for economies around the world. And the real question is, how does crypto fare in that? And I still think there's a lot of people in denial about this is what's coming. But there is, of course, a huge argument that actually crypto could fare quite well during these time periods. But we will see. It's there's something very exciting about being part of history as it is being written. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. If you've enjoyed this content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next YouTube video. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents. Enjoy your Sundays, and I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for the interview that we have coming out later. I think it's one that you will not want to miss. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.